Let's get this Hall Master trailer assembled. Got your cross members here. They're gonna be used as spacers between the front side rails and the rear side rail. Front side rail frame with harness holes. So you wanna have everything in its proper place. Then you got rear side rail frame with harness holes. Then you have just your rear side rail frame. Where the rear side rails and the front side rails meet, there are no holes, but that's basically the first step. Make sure you get everything in proper orientation with the cross members as spacers between the rear and front rails. All right, step 2 is inserting the wiring harness. And it's gonna go in the front side rail with harness hole, as well as the rear side rail with harness hole. It's gonna be this one here on the outside, okay? All the way back. You have the holes to match it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That railing setup has to be exactly like that. All right, here's all the wiring harness. This is cable setup 49B because it's got this yellow tape here at the end. I'm gonna go ahead and run it in the rail. Basically, this is the end. That's gonna be toward the front of the trailer. All right, and then you just push it through the hole here. It's gonna be the second hole, not the first one, second hole. And then run it back. And you gotta bring this main line back here to the second hole from the last and run both. So this is out here, and then the cable with the yellow tape is gonna come back in, ran back here, basically middle hole of the rear rail there, okay? So that's it, that's how you run that. Those connectors here is us having that section right there at the back, okay? After you have that, we're done with step 4, feeding the harnesses through. We're going on to step 5, where basically we're gonna be taking the passenger side shackle, that's this piece right here, and we are gonna put it right over the front and rear rails. Okay, one of the first things that you have to pay attention to and make sure the orientation is correct. You wanna make sure you have the shackles in the proper orientation where the longer part of the shackle is facing toward the back and the shorter part of the shackle going towards the front part or the longer rails. Reason being is on the shackle, they have the leaf spring brackets, but they're very specific. In the front, the bracket is wider, so the leaf spring can go inside the bracket. On the back though, this bracket is more narrow and you can't put the leaf spring in there because you have these two links, right, that drop down from that bracket, which makes it wide enough for the leaf spring to go into. So if you have this orientation, you're gonna be good to go. And you use this triangle right here to point where the two meet. This triangle is gonna be right on top here. Before we do all that, we gotta get all the rail nuts in place. And if you don't wanna go through the instructions, this is how you get the rail nuts in. Just drop it in and then turn it clockwise. You can slide them around as you can see, but if you need to remove them, same thing. Just go counterclockwise and they can come out, okay? Just put the shackle right up next to the bottom rail here. Get the rail nuts in place, real easy. But now that you have that in place, to properly fasten the shackle to the rails, you're gonna need number 52 hex bolts, number 53 flat washers, and number 51 spring washers, all right? So just drop it in place. It's for the hex bolt to run through the spring washer and then the flat washer last. And then that's why they have this punch out triangle here. So you can see that you have both of them lining up right here in the middle. So if you need to adjust a little bit and get it to the middle where it looks really centered to you, do that. And then you're able to tighten down all 12 bolts. That's it. Rails are in place with the shackle, and now you can remove this these center spacers here. Let's get it installed on the passenger side. All right, we got both shackles installed, completely tightened down. They're saying to do at least 25 foot-pounds of torque. Now you can take all the cross members out. These are the two side rails. Now we're gonna tilt them up, and then we're basically gonna put them on these jack stands so it can be in the air, the assembly stand, so that way it ends up off the ground like that, okay? So a level ground floor would definitely help make this assembly easier, but since I don't have that, I'm doing what I can to make things level and here at the back end to get the rails to be level. And one quick way to make sure all of your rails are square, just grab a square and see if they line up. Make sure the front and the back are exactly 5 feet apart before we start adding the cross members or the front and the back piece. Now it's 5 feet across exactly from outer edge to outer edge. Yep, exactly 5 feet, sweet. So we're gonna measure it to the outside corner of the back rail here. Now if you have a second person to help you, that's great. 11'2" and 3/16, not exactly spot on. The next step is to assemble these two brackets here. All right, steps 24 through 27 are basically assembling intercross member brackets. We got to do two right-handed orientations, which are these guys right here. You have them on the right with the hole coming out this way. And then you got to make two left-handed orientation brackets, okay? Basically, they mirror each other. You're going to need a 7/16 wrench and nut driver, or two wrenches, number 55 hex bolts, number 56 flat washers, and number 57 nuts. Next is getting the rail nuts in place for the brackets. Okay, just like that, left-handed corner bracket, right-handed corner bracket. Drop them in, two for each rail. Let's twist them in place, there we go. One thing I want to point out on these front bumper frame pieces, the left side has no pre-drilled hole. The right side does. I'm gonna put the holes on the right side of the bumper because this is where we have all the wiring harnesses for now. But it looks like as if the two holes are right here on the right side. See that? All right, we got this step done. Basically the left side and the right side corner brackets. And make sure you get the square flat washer, a spring washer. Just line up these guys to the holes on the bracket and make sure the bracket goes all the way to where it's touching the rail, so I can loosen these guys up and push it in a little bit more. And it says that torque it down at 25 foot-pounds. The next step is getting the top one on. It's doing the same process. Then we take the whole unit, put it up on the front, and then leave one side loose on the bracket so it has a little play so you can get that top rail on first, then get them to touch the rails on each end so it's nice and squared up. All right, you can use the other corner brackets. Put this bracket in here, and that way you can kind of get all the holes lined up. I'm gonna try to do this by myself. If not, I'll bring the wife out if I can't get it done. Let's see. You can move that rail nut a little bit with your bolt. Here we go. Okay, we got some threads in there. Let's see if we can get this side. Kind of have to make it work. There we go. All right. Haha. All right, we got two bolts in. So at least now it's holding it in place. Let's get all the other bolts in. You can do it by yourself, but this front bumper has all 8 bolts on each corner in place. Just hand tighten. All right, make sure you got this orientation with the cross beam brackets. So it's got to be in the upward orientation, all right? Front piece is on, or the front bumper portion is on the trailer. It's looking good. I like the length of it. 10 feet long is gonna be nice. You got 8 bolt spring washers and square washers on both corners. Got it as level or as flush as I could. Let's go get the bumper portion on the back. All right, so one of the ways that I'm able to get these rail nuts in pretty much the exact position I need them is using this corner bracket, right? So just put it up against the rail itself and just line them up with the holes on this side of the bracket. That's how I'm doing it. We're gonna attach the brackets on the right and left corner and then get this up on the back side. The bumper piece has this cutout here. This bigger cutout is toward the bottom. So this piece right here is gonna slide right in there. So make sure you have it in this orientation and you'll be good to go with the bumper piece. And after we get this back piece on, I'm gonna measure diagonally again just to make sure we're still square. This is the right rear corner. I just lift the back bumper up and hold it in the air and then place the corner bracket over the bumper, and it's just hand tightened right now. So that one's held. We're gonna go to the other side, do the same thing. All right, corner brackets are in place. This one's a bit heavier than the front one because it's all one piece with a solid metal plate in there. Kind of going in right here. Trying to hook this bad boy in. Adjust them as I need and get them in the channels here. You can use that hex bolt to move those rail nuts in the rail channel. Last one right here is lined up quite well. So we're gonna clamp everything, bring it in together, make everything flush, and we'll be good to go. And make sure you have the corner pieces coming together tightly and level and squared up. Okay, we got everything squared up, level, flush. So this is where we are right here, step 37. Next thing we're gonna do is start assembling the tongue here. We got the coupler and the 2 tongues assembled. Down the levels are gonna be upside down because this is the driver's side I'm gonna flip it over, right, because we're assembling it. The chain inside here, two back ones are just washers and lock nuts and bolts. The front ones are the bolt coming through, washer, chain link, washer, and then lock nut, okay? Make sure the chains come up and under and out here. Then we're gonna install the coupler jack, which looks like, again, is about 4 bolts, washers, nuts, etc. And then we gotta install it. We got the jack, the coupler, the chains all installed. They're all master on the left side, same as on the right. But on the right, you want the warning and tire and load information, etc. So the next step right here, we got to get this passenger side tongue bracket 23 inches back from the front rail. You definitely need some clamps. Alright, y'all, I am pretty happy with how things are looking. I'm gonna make you aware about something. Steps 59 through 63. These outer cross member brackets, you see you got one right here, center on the front bumper, and then between the pre-drilled holes, right? So you got the brackets here for the cross members. These are the pre-drilled holes throughout the rails, between the rails, I guess you would say, which these brackets, right, you got 2 holes here, you attach them that way, right? But these 5 right here that you have to measure out, and they don't have a plate like this, right, to attach them to. You look for these guys. You got 5 plates, okay? And for example, the center front one, just like that, you attach this guy on here, and then you take these brackets, and now you can install these guys at those 5 points, because you now have holes that will line up. Okay, let's get them installed so we can get these cross members on the trailer, man. And installing all those brackets are going to be the 1/4 inch hex bolt, all right, 1/4 inch lock nut, and 1/4 inch flat washers. All right, this is what it should look like. This is what it should look like once you're done with step 63. And then when you go on to 64, 65, and 66, all these cross member brackets got to be tightened down. These are all the cross member brackets. Make sure they're exactly the same spacing on both the left and right side. And now we can start installing the cross member brackets. Leave the brackets loose a little bit so you can line up the cross members and then tighten them down. All right, then you just put these in the rails on each corner, just like that. Just twist them in. I got the cross members, turned upside down right now. And then when you're ready to tighten them down, just flip them over onto the brackets, and then run the 3/8 inch bolts with the spring washers, etc., through, and tighten these guys down. And then you have one here in the middle, okay, for this cross member at the front. This is what you want to attach the cross members: 3/8 inch bolt, spring washer, and flat washer. Get all these brackets tightened down, and then the cross members also have the bolt underneath, remember? All right, you got this bolt right here. Tighten that down. And don't forget you got this middle one right here, okay, at the front. Okay, if you want to square it up even better, I highly recommend using some ratcheting straps to bring both sides exactly 5 feet apart where they meet up with the cross members on both ends. I had the 2 side rails kind of opened up, and there was a pretty significant gap here. They're all squared up to each cross member on both sides. Okay, that's it. Everything is locked down, tightened down. It's looking good. Next step is putting all the leaf spring parts together and then measuring A to B with the strap on each leaf spring facing forward. That strap right there is going to be facing forward, so we're going to put it on that side here on the front. You're also doing great so far, so keep going. You have the axle with the brackets facing downward because it's got a hole right there, and that little pop up there is going to go right here into the hole. And remember, you want these straps on the leaf springs to be facing forward. You get the U-bolts onto the bottom plate bracket. It's just 4 of these number 54 lock nuts right here. I recommend putting a 4x4 under the axle just like that with the bottom part facing up. Put the leaf spring on top, it drops into that hole, and then you can get the U-brackets from underneath to come up through this plate, right? Because this plate sits just like that, and it's pretty easy after that. But that's what I recommend. Okay, the next step is removing the castle nut on both ends of the axle. All right, just remove that bad boy right here because we're getting ready to install the wheels. Also, the cotter pins were here underneath the plastic cover at the ends of the axle, so that's where you'll find those guys. All right, remember, measure diagonally between the leaf springs, so A and then B. Make sure they're the exact same length. Measuring across from corner to corner, A and B. All these brackets, make sure they're super tight. I like too that they already greased up the axle. We should be good to go. They do have a grease gun connection right there. Get that grease in the axle whenever you need to. You're going to use the 9/16 hex bolts and the 9/16 lock nuts to attach the leaf springs to the frame. We're going to lift up the front to get it in here and push the bolt through and go do that on the other side. That's for the front side here of those two shackles, right? And then on the back side, we're going to put the shackle links on this bracket back here, okay? All right, I'm using, again, the ratcheting straps to hold up the axle with the spring leaves. All right, now we're on step 77 through 79. We're ready to get the tire, the wheel on. All right, place hub assembly on axle, tighten nut while spinning the tire until the wheel completes 1 to 2 rotations after a hard spin. Let's get one tire on. All greased up, we're good to go. Thank you, Harbor Freight, for doing that. But you take this dust cap off, and then you can get the castle nut here in place. Just gonna hand tighten it for now. All right, once you got the castle nut on there and everything's spinning nicely, make sure you get the castle nut to where you can drop the cotter's pin in that hole. Put it in just like this. All right, and it should come out the other end here, just like that. All right, I do it with my finger, but yeah, kind of just like that. And then you just put this dust cap back on. You're good to go, baby. I love that it has this rubber cap here, where if you ever need to grease the axle, you have access right through there. You don't have to take everything off. Just take this rubber cover cap off. All right, now that we got the tires on, let's go on to the next steps, which is step 81 through 88, really. Just basically installing these brackets, okay, into the bottom rail. The square washers on these brackets are not gonna be on top of the bracket like we've been doing with everything else, but behind it, because you want to create that space so it matches up with these plates. So I'll show you that in a minute, but let's get these on so we can get these wheel covers on or fenders on, okay? All right, we got the fenders on. You can't step on the front of the fender, but you cannot sit or stand on top of the fender, okay? Okay, we gotta do all the wiring, get all the lights in place. Yeah, we're gonna take the temporary jacks off. The wiring on this trailer is pretty basic, so you should be okay, because if I can do it, you can do it. This is a 3 or 4 prong connection to your truck. That piece comes all the way back here. This is your piece here that comes for the truck that gives power to everything else. So this right here is going to split off. This is the main connection, okay, that connects to all these connection points here, which is the main wire that runs through the channel that you did at the beginning, that goes all the way back, so you can power on the bullet lights as well as the brake lights, signal lights, and the light for your license plate, okay? You're gonna connect these two right here all together, and then it has this little portion right here that's gonna come through here, okay, where you're gonna connect this bullet light here. So these guys all stay right here, connecting and getting everything done here. All right, and then you have a piece that goes from here to the other side of the trailer, so you get that other bullet light. All right, so once you get all that connected, just come back here. And remember, when you ran this at the beginning, you had the one that went back, and that's for the license plate light. And then you have this triangle piece here, or 2 connection points, because one is going to be for this bullet light that's going to go right there. And then these pieces, all these guys are going to connect to these guys here, because this is what's going to feed your 2 brake lights and signal lights with power, as well as the far right corner bullet light. It's pretty straightforward. I didn't even use a diagram, because the diagram is more confusing to look at than it is to just look at the connection points and kind of make sense of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it. All right, this corner of the wiring is the most complicated, or at least it was for me, so I'm gonna share it with y'all. The 3 lines coming from the left brake light signal light are gonna be red, black, and white. The white and black go to the brown and white, which is gonna extend to the brown and white over there for your right brake light and your right bullet light, okay? But the red is gonna connect to the yellow that goes back to the coupler, right? And then of course you have these double lines that connect the brown and white from the black and white of the brake light to go back to the front as well. And then here in the corner you got your brown and white there. You want this configuration, just pause the video, take a screenshot, and you get this configuration, you're good to go. All right, the way you install these bullet lights, so you take this rubber grommet off of the bullet light, okay? So just like that, have the wires come through, then put the grommet on, put that grommet in place. So after everything's connected here on this end, you're good to go. Just push the bullet light in and it'll go in. That's how you do all your bullet lights, the orange ones and the red ones, front and back. Now let's secure the brake lights / signal lights in place with the self-tapping screws. All right, to put the marker lights on, just use these rail covers and you just cut them. I use these tough built heavy duty scissors to cut those rail covers, and that's it. You just use those and then you drive 2 screws through it and you're good to go for your marker lights. All right, then that's why they left this hole open, so that way you can run the last 1/4 inch bolt and lock nut through this clip to hold your connection point here that goes to your vehicle. And now all this wire that's hanging, dangling real loose there all the way around to the back, they give you these guys right here, these little double-sided sticky plastic brackets and a pack of zip ties. And then we're done. I mean, I'm gonna have to take the trailer out to the truck, plug her in, see if everything's working properly. All right, we're down to the last ratcheting strap bracket, and this last one's gonna go right here next to the orange marker light up front. Use the rail nuts that were used for the temporary jacks right there, right? And then just again, lock, just a spring washer, flat washer, go through the plate and lock it in place, y'all. So let's plug it in. Push the brake. We got the bullet light in the back. Both of the red ones are working and the 2 amber ones are orange ones. So everything is properly connected, y'all. Look at that. I like that a lot. Let's see if that license plate light is working. Yes, it is. Here's the 5/4 by 6 inches by 10 feet long. These guys right here. It's the weather shield ones. So we're gonna get 10 of these, take them home. I'm not gonna stain them or anything. I'm just gonna put these guys on. All right, so that's it. We got it done. The decking is on. I'll tell you the mistake I made. Basically, I used too many screws. The outside planks were to only get 1 screw in the middle. You're only supposed to put 2 screws on the planks that are right here where the axle is and the leaf springs, etc. Everywhere else, it's just supposed to be 1 screw in the middle. But since I didn't pay attention, I had to go get some extra screws. So you can do the same thing if you want, but you'll have to buy more screws. That's what it should look like when you're all said and done. And then as you can see, the wiring here is ran nicely, and at least that's the way I decided to run it. Stay tuned for the next video where I'm gonna load this trailer up and we're gonna go on a pretty long drive. We're gonna take this to my brother's house, who's about 60 miles away. And that way we'll see exactly how all the bolts hold up, whether they get loose or not, and things like that. And we're gonna air up the tires exactly to the proper PSI. So stay tuned for that video, and thanks for all the support. And as always, follow for more tools, tech, DIYs, and amazing deals.